Fala galera, eu sou Igor Miranda e o papo agora é com Neal Schon, guitarrista do Journey, banda que acaba de lançar seu novo álbum, Freedom. Conversamos bastante sobre o disco, que é o primeiro dos caras em mais de 10 anos e para mim é um dos mais ecléticos deles em muito tempo. Falamos também sobre algumas das recentes mudanças de formação na banda, especialmente a volta de Deen Castronovo para a bateria nos shows. Sobrou um tempinho para perguntar se a turnê com o Toto vai passar pelo Brasil e a resposta vai deixar muita gente feliz. Se liga!
How do you feel? How do you feel about this record now that the whole world can listen to it? Finally.
I felt really strongly about it before it was even released. I was very proud of the record and the work that we did and how we went about doing it, and how we had to work around the difficulties of COVID and not everybody being able to be in the same room. It was quite amazing to watch go down, and we got very creative. Narda and I got creative and cut so many songs with just guitar and drums, and then I would overdub bass, and I would overdub some keyboards, and I would overdub some vocals and stack some harmonies with him and some ideas. Then we'd shoot it out to Jonathan. He'd work on lyrics. Then I'd shoot it to Randy Jackson, and he would replace my bass with better bass. And John would do the same with the keys, and then we, at that point, then Narda would work with Arnel, and he was in Manila in the Philippines, and got great vocals out of Arnel. And it's amazing. It sounds like it's a very live sounding record, and it's because I chose for being a producer on a record. I felt like some of our greatest performances that Journey has ever done, no matter what formation, has always been live in the studio, and not really with a computer and piecing together with Pro Tools. It was before there was a computer. And so without having everyone not being able to be in a room and to play live, I felt like if I play live guitar with live drums, as Narda and I did, it's going to somewhat feel like that, like we were in the room. And so it did, as much as possible. Second best thing, I think, to having everyone in a room at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. And Freedom is one of the most diverse Journey albums, in my opinion, of course. We have the ballads, we have the rockers, but we also have some groovy tracks like Afterglow, Let It Rain, and one of the longest tracks from the band's career, which is Beautiful As You Are. Did you guys plan to sound diverse as that? What was the main goal while writing the songs?
It was interesting because the fact that Narda and I produced the record, we had the freedom. There was no time limit. We weren't signed to a label at the time. Nobody was like breathing down our necks going, hey, this needs to get done by here. We want, or an A&R guy going, we only need 9 tracks or 10 tracks. Him and I just went at it like it was the project, and we want to come up with the best material we can come up with and the most diverse album that we could come up with. And I was very, I was aware of, how diverse the band had been in the past, probably more so than Narda was, because I was involved in it. And so I looked at our more diverse albums, such as Frontiers or Escape, that had a lot of different types of material on it. And then I went back and, revisited, some of the songs that I had written with C. Perry going back to Infinity, in that time period. And I felt like I wanted to encompass, this is going to be my 50th anniversary next year, being with Journey. The only guy here that's been here that long and still with the band. And so I wanted to try to encompass, all the way back to the beginning, even before Steve Perry, the vibe of the band and the musical continuity that, we were able to transcend through the music, and all the different generations that we did, and year after year, and the musical changes that we made. And so I was conscious of that. And as we were compiling material, it made me want to go off, as, like you said, like Let It Rain was one of the just a jam. I walked in one day and the artist said, "What do you want to do?" And I go, "Well, I've got this funky riff, and I kind of like just to lay it down and just let it sit there for a second." And it really wasn't a song. We just went out in the studio and jammed, and I kind of arranged it as we were playing it because I didn't know where the vocals went. I kind of just felt like, oh, feels like it should go here, feels like it should go down, up here, and kind of played it like that live and played the live solo, and then went back and overdubbed on it. I put like a bass on it, and we let it sit there for a while and brew. And then, Narda came up with some, the vocal ideas, and I helped here and there. And that's how a lot of it came together, not really knowing what we were going for, but shooting for something different every day and not getting stuck in one place and trying to refine any one idea to the point of that it's perfect,
Yeah, absolutely. And this new album shows again that we are not doing enough justice for Arnel Pineda. What an amazing singer. He really showed a different side of his vocals on this record, in my opinion, of course. What was it like working with Arnel on Freedom, and what has it been like working with him for the last 15 years?
Arnel is just a gem. He's more amazing right now than he was when I first found him in Manila 15 years ago, when he was homeless, and he was in dire straits. And I was searching for the new singer for Journey, and I chose YouTube to look all over the world for the singer. When I heard his voice, I knew that he was it, with no other thought. It hit me, emotionally in my heart. I went, that is the voice. He's the voice. I know he can do it. And so I stuck to my guns with a lot of resistance from many, from within the band and from management. They all thought I was crazy, and I said, well, I know I'm right. And so get him over here. And we got him over, and he proved that I was right again. And, he now, just the show we just played the other night sounded phenomenal through the whole show. We finally got his in-ears sorted out. We got a great mixer in front now. Sounds like a record every night. And he's sounding phenomenal every night. And, he's very excited about some of the new direction that we took that allows him to show how creative he can be without having to emulate, our other albums, which is a requirement for any singer that would come into Journey. It's either that or you throw away all your hits that you ever had. And what do? Start from ground zero again? Doesn't make sense. So I knew when I found Arnel that I had found a true chameleon like no other singer I've ever heard. And so he is amazing. I love him. He's a true warrior. And the question that you asked about, how was it to work with Arnel? It's been phenomenal for me all these years. But I actually left Narda and Arnel alone to work, just the two of them, because I wanted Arnel to get comfortable with Narda, because I knew how good he was with vocalists in the past. And I felt it would be the first time that Arnel really had opportunity to work with a great producer, a vocal producer, such as Narda Mike Walden, who's worked with Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Aretha Franklin, and many other greats. And so I just left him alone. I felt like less is more. And Narda would start work with him about 12 p.m. our time in the evening, going into the wee hours of the morning. And Arnel would just be waking up and they'd be communicating on Zoom. And Arnel was in Manila. And I just, when I heard what I heard, I was like, wow, that's phenomenal.
Yeah. And since you mentioned Narada, he was the drummer for the album and produced the album with you, but he left the band during the tour, and you brought Deen Castronovo back. Why did Narada left, and how Deen got back to the band?
Narda actually had some physical problems he was having. He hadn't been on tour in a long time. And the gig is very, very demanding. We were playing in some very hot weather. And we had a couple scares, he had a scare. And he had to go home. And before that, prior to that, I was feeling that it was just so physically demanding upon him that I had pulled Jonathan aside when we were in first rehearsals in Chicago before we had played our first shows of the year. And I felt like I said, I think we need some backup here, and I think Deen is the only one who can do it. And was met with a bit of resistance, but I said, look, this has to happen. Okay, I know that I'm correct here. And so he agreed with me, and we brought Deen in. One of the reasons is Deen is the only one I know that knows all of the material, probably better than the rest of us. He's got a photogenic memory. He's a phenomenal drummer, phenomenal singer as well. And I, for a long time, have missed Deen for many reasons, he's a true brother, and so I was glad to get him back in the fold. Randy Jackson also had a surgery on his back and was not able to come out on tour, had not healed up as fast as he thought he would. And so, we started with Marco Mendoza, and then, things just was not gelling as well as I thought it needed to for a band. Marco's phenomenal bass player, but he's more of a fusion Latin rock guy. And I felt like, some of the stuff sounded great, some of it didn't. And he really, I thought he spread himself too thin. He had too many projects going on at the time to be able to retain everything I needed him to retain and learn. And so Todd Jensen was an obvious choice for myself, having Deen and I worked with him before. He knew a lot of the Journey material for working with Steve Perry. And, I'd worked with him before that, with Paul Rogers and Hardline with Deen, and knew how great the three of us played together. So it was kind of an obvious choice, and it's worked out really, really great.
Yeah, it's good to know. It's a shame, but I have to ask you my last question, 2 in 1, because I gotta ask you about Brazil, about the concert, the one night only concert you guys did in 2011. It was the only concert Journey did here in Brazil, if I'm not mistaken, of course. And last May, you said in an interview that you want to bring back Journey with Toto to South America. So I'd like to ask you about your memories from that concert in 2011, and what are the plans about bringing Journey and Toto to Brazil?
Well, we'd love, it was my idea when Billy Idol dropped out, and first off, he was only going to be able to play, I believe, 28 shows of the first 40 that we had, planned to play when we going back inside arenas with AEG. I suggested to bring Toto on with us because I've been long, great friends with Steve Lukather. We had done some shows together way back in the 80s with Santana, Journey, and Toto. And I thought, musically, I think it's completely compatible with Journey. The audience I felt would be very much the same type of audience. And, I was met with a little resistance. Then they believed in when Billy Idol, canceled. I said, I'm telling you, grab Toto. It's going to be good. And so we did. And Steve was very happy to come on with the band as they were planning on doing, theaters. He had a theater tour booked as they played more, I think, in Europe and abroad than they have in the United States. And we were bigger in the United States. And so I just felt like, they were worried about ticket sales because it was the first time we were doing bigger places with AEG. And they were worried about, I said, don't worry about it. I'm telling you, we are very strong. We're going to sell out no matter who we bring on the bill. But I know musically, compatibly, it's going to be one of the best shows that our audience is ever going to see with Journey. And I turned out to be correct. And so it went so well that now, we're going to do another 40 shows in the United States, starting out in the beginning of next year with Toto. Then we plan on going abroad with Toto. I have not seen all the dates, but we're talking about South America, we're talking about Brazil, we're talking about everywhere, and Europe. And so it's exciting times, and I think that we're going to find out that we're much stronger abroad as well as we've never known in the past, because the management really didn't want us going over there because they don't make enough money. They have to split it with the other promoters, all kinds of politics, so just like I've seen in the past, like the first time we played Vina Del Mar with Arnel, which was his first show, we played the 30 million on TV, and that was his audition, and it all blew up. We went crazy. The audience loved it. Then we never returned. I'm like going, what's up with that? And so I think it's going to be a great, amazing experience when we do get that.